So let's widen this by raising the big questions on the political rumble. Is this therefore really a free and fair election, or is the opposition crying wolf? Should the Election Commission be giving accurate data on votes polled and putting them in the public domain? Has the Election Commission failed to curb divisive speech? Are opposition's fears unfounded? Has the EC done its duty as a true neutral umpire? Joining me now, Anjali Bharadwaj, Governing Council member at Common Cause, social activist. She's among those who's taken this up before the Supreme Court. Rajat Sethi, political commentator who's been associated in the past with BJP leaders. Mohammad Khan is Congress's spokesperson and lawyer. And Sanju Verma, BJP's national spokesperson. Let's come to each of you to get your comments on what you're hearing. Anjali Bharadwaj, since you've gone to the court first, are you saying really that you believe this is not a free and fair election? The EC in its court affidavit today said, why is civil society casting aspersions on a poll process which they claim is foolproof?
Rajdeep, I think what we need to understand is that the petition which is in front of the court today is asking for a very basic and elementary piece of information. What we are saying is that voter turnout needs to be, it's a figure that needs to be shared with the citizens of the country. The phase one of elections, in these current elections, finished more than a month ago. And today people are still in the dark about the exact number of people who went and cast their votes in phase one. Now, phase one, we know there was an inordinate delay in putting out final figures by the ECI. Finally, when they put out the figures, they were in percentage terms. The absolute number of votes polled has still not been given to people for any of the phases. And there has been a sharp spike in the number of votes that was polled, the percentages that has been put out, more than 6%. All of this does raise very legitimate questions and doubts in the minds of citizens. And we know that the best way to allay these kind of fears in a democracy is for the institution to put out information. According to the Election Commission of India itself, the only statutory record which exists of the authenticated voter turnout is Form 17C Part 1. What we are simply saying is that put these 17C Part 1, take a picture or scan it and put it on the ECI's website.
But if the candidates and the agents are not objecting, why are you raising fears? You will be accused of fear mongering. If the candidates have no problem, what is your problem?
Rajdeep, I think what we need to really understand, and we cannot afford to forget in a democracy, is that when elections are happening, people, citizens are the most important stakeholders. Elections are not happening for polling agents or for candidates or for political parties even. People need to have trust in a democracy, in the electoral process. If today, due to various reasons, there are questions, there are doubts that have arisen about the basic number of people who have voted in our elections in the first 4 phases, there is absolutely no reason why the Election Commission of India should just not allay those fears by putting out the authenticated voter turnout, which is available with every returning officer in the country on its website. It will just close the matter. This is really not even about casting aspersions, Rajdeep. This is about basic trust in a democracy. And we know globally it is accepted. Our courts have repeatedly said that people have a right to know. They have a right to information. I don't see why this information cannot be provided to citizens.
Okay, let Sanju Verma respond to that. Sanju Verma, you're hearing activists. This is not politicians, but activists are saying also that they believe that this election has lacked the fundamental quality for a free and fair election, i.e. transparency. That therefore there is dal mein kuch kala. Already before the election there were questions in the manner in which the election commissioners are appointed, the role that the executive has. Now they are raising questions over voter data. Is this somewhere undermining in a way the electoral process and public faith in it, ma'am?
You know, Rajdeep, I'm now getting sick and tired of this entire cabal, this entire cottage industry of social activists, YouTubers, so-called neutral umpires, neutral journalists, people who are beholden to their Padma awards, and have a debt to repay, questioning the credibility of our bona fide statutory agencies. And I am not pointing fingers at any particular individual, but let me have my say. First and foremost, for anybody who needs to know how elections are conducted, let them read Article 324, 325, 326, 327, 328, and 329 of the Indian Constitution. The Chief Election Commissioner and his entire team, they're well within their right not to share Form 17C on a public platform. And the reason is twofold. Point number one, there is no past precedence to it. It has never been done in the past, and it is a good convention. So I don't think this time should be any different. Point number two, it is not a public...
For example, absolute voter turnout was available. Absolute voter turnout was available right away. Total number of candidates total number of voters per constituencies were available. So how do we go to precedent for some things and not for the other? It's about restoring faith in the electoral process, ma'am.
Rajdeep, I heard Anjali Bhardwaj. Not once did you heckle her. Is it so difficult for you to pretend to be neutral? Is it so difficult for you to not heckle Sanju Verma? You do not...
I'm not heckling you, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm not heckling you. Let's not do this every time. I'm listening to you. Please carry on. No, please carry on. Ma'am, I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you. I have every right to cross-question, but go ahead.
No, you have every right to cross-question after I'm done talking, because I don't see you doing that cross-questioning to the other side. Let me finish and you can question me. I'm here, I'm not running away. And let us start with transparency. Next time Rajdeep Sardesai is on air, let Rajdeep Sardesai say that his spouse Sagarika Ghosh is a TMC Rajya Sabha MP.
I'm happy to say that, ma'am. I have absolutely no problem. You're making it personal again. I couldn't care. I am very clear about it, that what my identity is my own. I ask questions to all. You're making it personal and I have no time for that. Now you carry on.
Yes, I'm not making it personal. I'm just saying that जो लोग यहाँ बैठकर रोज बीजेपी को न्यूट्रलिटी पर ज्ञान देते हैं, you know, they themselves have conflict of interest, and this is not just about you. Now let me come in here. A, there is no past convention where in a general election the Form 17C has been made publicly available. Point number two, the Chief Election Commissioner has said very rightly that under Rule 49V2 of the Representation of People's Act 1951 and under Rule 93 and 94 of the Conduct of Business Rules 1961 pertaining to general elections, Form 17C is not, mind you, it is not a public document and need not be made publicly available. It has to be only given by the returning officer, the RO, to the polling agent, not even directly to the candidate. The polling agent then has the prerogative to share it with the candidate, because the biggest stakeholder in this case is the candidate or the pratyashi who is seeking votes from the electorate. The limited point I'm making is this, Rajdeep, and I will then end in 30 seconds. This entire controversy started with one TMC Rajya Sabha MP Saket saying, "Arey, these elections are rigged." You know, he filed some RTI application. This is the same Saket Gokhale who has been accused of taking crowdfunding during COVID and spending it on personal booze, partying, liquor, what have you, and where this entire narrative.
You need a fact check straight away. This Anjali Bhardwaj, Prashant Bhushan did this well before that. You must get your facts right. I will madam, you cannot come on my program and make wrong facts. You do not like it. You do not like it. I don't care. Okay? Saket Gokhale is not the one who accused. This petition has nothing to do with Saket Gokhale. These are activists who have gone in. Now you can finish. You have 30 seconds to finish. Please do.
I should be getting 45 seconds because you have interrupted me without rhyme or reason. I will repeat. This entire cottage industry of the likes of Saket Gokhale. Then you have somebody called a Jairam Ramesh and Pawan Khera. Pawan Khera says that dhandlebazi hui hai, not in as many words, of 1.07 crore votes. And Jairam Ramesh quickly picks that up and says, oh, that translates into 28,000 votes per Lok Sabha constituency, jiske saath hera feri hui hai. I fail to understand there is an impartial, non-partisan election commission. You doubt its credibility. You started by saying that EVMs are not credible. The Supreme Court clearly said that EVMs don't lie. ex-Congress CEC, T.S. Krishnamurthy, he's a Congress empathizer. He said EVMs don't lie, human beings lie. You said T.S. Krishnamurthy galat hai. You know, basically this entire cabal believes that you will undermine the credibility of Narendra Modi, come what may, because you can see the writing on the wall.
Okay.
The dot alliance is going to be shown the door on the 4th of June.
I've listened to you almost uninterrupted. The problem is when someone interrupts you, you call it heckling. When you shout at people, you expect people to be polite to you. No, madam. No, not at all. Let the audience judge. Why don't you ask the audience who's rude here? Please put the volume down. Mohammad Khan now respond. Because the feeling is being made that you are creating... You know, Sanju Verma mentioned, Pawan Kheda mentioned, Jairam Ramesh. The Congress party, while the election is on, Mallikarjun Kharge wrote a letter to the Election Commission questioning, why is it that you are putting out these data after so many days? All of this is designed to cast some doubt over the electoral process in which you are a participant. What is it exactly? You see, you cannot just throw mud at someone without having concrete proof to back it up.
Absolutely. That's a fair point. And in our complaints, we did raise very specific issues about voter numbers and the increase in voter numbers thereafter. It was those issues that they addressed and responded to Mr. Kharge. So we have followed a very transparent process. All our communications are out in the public domain and the responses thereto are also out in the public domain. You said something to Anjali ma'am. You said if the candidate, जब candidate को ही परेशानी नहीं है तो आपको क्यों है? But हकीकत में 2 हफ्ते पहले multi-party delegation went to the Election Commission. There were 12 representatives across party lines and they raised these and various other issues.
So what is the specific concern? I want a very specific concern.
Let's come to the specific question. Let's come to the question of today. This is Form 17C. Here, take a copy. I'll walk you through certain portions of it. It's a very important piece of document and anyone can get it if they just Google it. It's next to the conduct of election rules. I want you to look at 3 things in this. The total number of voters, that is at item 1.
Yes.
The total number of votes entered in the register for voters. Again, very important information. कितने लोगों ने मतदान किया?
Yes.
Number 5 पे देखिए, दूसरी चीज कि कितने वोट रिकॉर्ड किए गए per voting machine.
Yes.
And look at the very top. Identification number of voting control unit. So what are the 3 things I get from this Form 17C and why is Anjali ma'am and every other political party asking for this data? I get to know on that day how many voters cast their vote. I get to know the identification number of the machines. I get to know how many votes were cast per machines. This is brilliant.
But this is all available to the candidate and his or her agent.
I'm so glad you said that. It is available to the candidate. It is available to the agent. Number 2, here's something that everyone else seems to have missed. The BJP spokesperson should have pointed this out. Under the conduct of election rules, you and I can make an application to the Election Commission. And upon the payment of a very small fee, we can get our own copy of this data. So if it is available, and if there is no big secret about it, why is the Election Commission coming up with these contrived reasons that people will morph the data? That is the most absurd reason that can be presented because by that logic, no data can be presented. Second, I'm very glad that Ms. Verma raised the question of Article 324 because the question of Article 324 and the limits of the Election Commission's power. Ms. Verma said, where does it say so in the law? She's right. There is no provision in the law with regard to this. But you know what M.S. Gill's judgment in 1978 says? That when the Election Commission is confronted with a situation where the law is not there, or the law is not written, or the law is silent, the Chief Election Commissioner cannot, and I quote, throw up his hands and look for divine inspiration. No, he must use the powers under Article 324. 324 is a vast reservoir of powers. T.N. Sheshan quoted it in his book, this very paragraph, by the way. And this is in M.S. Gill, 1978. Any one of your viewers can go out and fact check this. And the last point I want to make to you, very importantly, why is it wrong to ask for this data? If they have it, candidates have it. It will increase trust in the process. And finally, do you know the Election Commission rightfully spends crores of rupees on nationwide campaigns to encourage voter participation. They do it in a wide myriad and a very dynamic number of ways, coming up with innovative campaigns, etc. Show me where in the law that's prescribed. Show me which part of the law allows the Election Commission to do that. If you go by that...
No, but what's wrong with that? No,
there's nothing wrong with that.
You're mixing issues.
No.
You are telling
I'm
me...
saying there is no legal prohibition.
There is no legal prohibition to providing 17C to the voter. Which in the Supreme Court, exactly the opposite was said by the Election Commission.
In the 220-page affidavit.
But
and that's what
Anjali
because the candidate has it. You can apply for it. If you look at the data on My Voter app at the end of the day, you can get it. And yet the Election Commission suddenly appears before the Supreme Court, files a 220-page affidavit and says, "Nahi, janab, log jo hai behek jayenge." Ye kya baat hui?
Anjali, you want to respond to what Sanju Verma said Mohammad Khan is defending him from his party perspective. But there will be those who will say activists because they have an animus. These were words used by Sanju Verma against Narendra Modi. Hence, you are doing what you are doing. This is not about election commission. It is that you refuse to accept that Narendra Modi can win a free and fair election.
No, Rajdeep, I don't want to counter any political allegations. I'm not here for that. Let me just only say that I'm surprised. I thought that all political parties, including the ruling party, should welcome greater transparency in all institutions. I mean, after all, the Prime Minister says we are the mother of democracy. Why should not there be transparency in democracy? One of the most basic fundamental constitutional rights, which the Supreme Court has upheld for decades, is the right to information. And what are people seeking? Let's just come back to the fundamentals. We are talking about the largest democracy in the world going to elections. We are saying that for various reasons, this time, of course, because there was a huge spike in the number of voter turnout, the percentage that was given, the absolute numbers have not been given for various reasons. There are questions. All that is being sought is basic authenticated information on voter turnout. We know that in every polling station in the country, there is a presiding officer. At the end of the day of polling, the presiding officer signs off on Form 17C Part 1, which says how many people polled in that in that polling station. And that is given to the polling agents over there. All that we are saying is that let that form be put out in the public domain. Let people have.
You're emphasizing the right to know.
Let me say, Rajdeep, that even in the electoral bonds case, this is exactly what the Supreme Court upheld. The Supreme Court said that people have a right to know. It's a fundamental right which flows from Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution. So I think that all political parties, I'm very surprised because I think all political parties should in fact welcome the fact that the Election Commission, if it puts out all of this data in the public domain. Now, on this issue of whether this information should be given...
You made your point, ma'am. You made your point on the right to know. I need Sanju Verma to respond on the other controversy that I raised, the Model Code of Conduct. Sanju Verma, yesterday the Election Commission made it clear, wrote back to Jagat Prakash Nadda, also wrote to Mallikarjun Kharge saying they feel prima facie the comments which have been made during the election campaign are of a manner that clearly violate the Model Code of Conduct and should not be repeated. They have not banned the Prime Minister from campaigning, unlike they banned Abhijit Gangopadhyay, your candidate in Bengal. But they have sent these strong words. Do you believe that this will, in some way, is this a stricture on your leadership? Or you believe सब कुछ चलता है क्योंकि election जीतना है, come what may?
Rajdeep, let me very quickly first tell
No, please address this. We have limited time. Let's address this.
Arey bhai sahab, please, do not heckle me. Let me finish here. Right to Information Act 2005, Section 8 and Section 9 clearly say that your right as a citizen is not absolute. And she quoted Article 19(1)(a). Article 19(1)(a) also says that your fundamental right is not absolute. It is subject to
you made that point. What about star campaigners making divisive speeches?
I'm coming to that. You have limited time. Let me tell you. Let's be very clear. Since 2014, there is a cabal. When Narendra Modi won in 2014, they said, "Arey, ye to fluke hai, ye to by chance jeet gaya." 2019, BJP got standalone 303 seats. They said, "Arey, 2019 जीत गया ना, 2024 में देखो कांग्रेस आएगी." अब 2024 में पता है कि जून 4 को कांग्रेस का सुपड़ा साफ होने वाला है. The same cabal is back in action. The George Soros backed cabal of YouTubers.
No, you're not answering my question. Madam, I'm not interested in George Soros's cabal. I'm asking you, will this be a restraint? Please answer me directly. This is not heckling. No, this is asking questions.
You.
Please answer.
I will answer you. Do not put words in my mouth. Now you've asked a question. Stop saying answer. Don't put a gun to my head. I'm an adult. You don't treat me like a kindergartner. Thank you. And I'm not eating chiclets, as you will. Thank you. Let me just say this. I believe that any political party, any political leader should refrain from hate speech. But let Rajdeep Sardesai also call out the bluff of one of the biggest fear mongers in this 2024 election, one of the biggest propagandists of hate speech, one of the persons who has been driving a wedge between OBCs, Dalits, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and Muslims, and that is your very own Rahul Baba, यानी कि Rahul Gandhi, जो हर बार एक ही चीज कहते हैं, दलितों को वोट क्यों नहीं दी बीजेपी ने, ओबीसी को क्यों नहीं दी, आदिवासियों को क्यों नहीं दी, जबकि जब इनकी पार्टी सत्ता में थी,
you're saying, let the Congress answer. Madam, that is what about your instead of accepting your leaders doing divisive speeches, you're saying what about Rahul Gandhi? So you answer that in conclusion. While you blame the Prime Minister, Rahul Gandhi is also accused, and so the Election Commission has sent a letter. You can't start creating caste prejudice and saying the Constitution will be changed. This is fear-mongering and division.
The Election Commission served a 6-page notice on Shri JP Nadda Sahab. In that 6-page notice, in paragraph 13, it highlighted all the complaints against its various star campaigners, including the Honorable Prime Minister. In paragraph 15 and 16, it highlighted all the writs that have been filed before the various courts against the hate speeches given by their leaders, including the Prime Minister. In paragraph 20, they gave 10 points. They copy-pasted those same 10 points in our letter. You are drawing a false equivalence. Yes, we will continue to campaign for Dalits, Adivasis, OBCs, and those on the margins of society. That is not hate speech. That is essentially what politics is supposed to be about. Your speeches are designed to be hate speeches, obviously. People are talking about them. You are coming out and defending them, madam. And the fact is, those contents are put forth proudly. It's not something that they're attempting to conceal. Or
so you believe it's a false equivalence being drawn when Rahul Gandhi says, when Rahul Gandhi asks people about their caste, tells them that I will ensure that in a way you will get jitni abadi utna haq. You're saying he's talking about social justice. When the Prime Minister does it, it is hate speech. Is that what you're arguing? That there is a false equivalence, right?
Yes, but one last point.
Very quickly, 30 seconds.
30 seconds. The Election Commission is responsible for ensuring a level playing field. That does not mean that they level the playing field entirely. You can't treat two parties which are not equal as equal. The Prime Minister's speeches are designed to invoke a particular passion. Rahul Ji's speeches are designed to promote a particular constituency. Okay. That is fact. That is not opinion.
So you're saying that the Election Commission, you claim it's a false equivalence. We leave it to the viewers to judge. We leave it to the conscience of the Election Commission to decide whether they believe that this data about voter turnout should be in the public domain or not. At the end of the day, elections are about the public above all else. And the public is Janta Janardhan when it comes to an election. That's all that we could pack in on the political rumble. Remember, tomorrow night we'll join you with Elections on My Plate from Varanasi. From now, from the entire team, thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Jai Hind, Shubh Ratri, Namaskar.